Okay, so how do we go about actually maximizing profit? So one of our assumptions about any firm is that its primary goal is to maximize profits. We assume this not because we think it's somehow morally good to do so, but because empirically it seems very accurate. Remember, the value of a model isn't in the realism of its assumptions, but in its ability to understand and predict the world. The better that the model predicts the world, the better the model is. Assuming that firms maximizing profits is, at least so far, the best model we've come up with for understanding their behavior. The question of whether or not firms should maximize profits is a really interesting one, but it's not one that we're going to be going into here. Now remember, profit is equal to revenue minus expenses. The basic idea here is that profit maximizers will engage in an activity as long as the expected marginal revenue, okay, so let's do as long as the expected marginal revenue of doing so exceeds the expected marginal cost. Put another way, profit maximizers will continue to do something as long as they make more money doing it than they must spend to do it. We use the word expected here, not because we're trying to be fancy or anything like that, but because sometimes people think that they're going to make money at something, only to later find out that they didn't. In other words, sometimes people are wrong, and that's perfectly okay. When they learn they're wrong, they either stop doing that thing, or they try a different way to do it instead. But the key point here is that they learn from their mistakes. So how much do you produce? Well, you want to continue producing until the marginal revenue is equal to the marginal cost. Intuitively, this makes sense. You would want to continue producing a product, no matter what it is, until you are no longer covering your costs. Or, another way to say this, you produce until the cost of producing the last unit is equal to the additional revenue you receive from having produced that last unit. One of the hallmarks of economics is our recognition that the marginal cost of anything is increasing. Supply curves are actually just marginal cost curves under a different name. So if you understand why supply curves slope up, then you understand why marginal cost is actually just increasing. All right, so a supply curve, just as a refresher, looks like this, but it's the exact same concept as a marginal cost curve. I'll link to some videos explaining this in the description below. So, if you have a constant price that you can sell your product at, then you will continue producing that product until the marginal cost of producing it is equal to the marginal revenue. So if we have a horizontal demand curve, right, at $2.50, then you will continue producing until the marginal cost of producing the final unit is equal to $2.50. And at that point, you'll be producing some quantity which we'll call Q1. Now, because we assume that firms maximize profit and that the demand curve is perfectly horizontal, we actually have a really cool identity. So because the demand curve is horizontal, the marginal revenue of any product sold is going to be equal to the price. So we can say that price is equal to marginal revenue. And because we're producing where the demand curve intercepts the supply curve, we can also say that this is equal to marginal cost. Now I should point out, this is only true with a horizontal demand curve. I'll show you why in a later video. So for right now though, price is equal to marginal revenue, which is equal to marginal cost.